about, I know a lot of people know about you here in San Diego, but nationwide, not everybody know about you. So if you could just tell us a little bit.
Okay, sure. So, well, I'm sure you want to know about the FDN, the
Yes.
Functional Diagnostic Nutrition Program.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you, I came to this world from a different world. I was actually in environmental law. So I went to the University of San Diego. I graduated from a environmental law program, and I learned there how bad the environment is and the kind of things the environment can do to you. But
Yeah.
I was very happy in that profession. I actually was a lobbyist in Sacramento with some laws based around clean environment and that kind of thing. And circumstances happened, and I lost that job. It was a very good job, and I loved it. But I was okay with it. I decided I wanted to help people with the damage done to their bodies, and
Yeah.
because I'm good at the corporate world, I thought I would do corporate wellness. Now everyone's heard of that today, but back in the '90s, no one heard of corporate wellness, and
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of a new field then. And so what I realized is that I was good at helping corporations with their bottom line and with all their employees, human resources and things. I didn't know much about wellness. So I took a course in nutrition
Yeah.
and I got a certificate in nutrition. And I started working with a chiropractic office called the Better Health and Wellness Center. So that's where I started actually working on the doctor's patients doing
Mm-hmm.
nutrition. And I decided there's some things about it I didn't like at all. I didn't like the way the nutrition world was working at the time. Again, this is late '90s, and so I made some changes. I did some of my own research and investigation into what was really going on with people, and so that I could help them on a causal level. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a little bit about how I got into it, at least.
Interesting. So what
Yeah.
what what didn't you like in nutrition back then that you added your own?
That's a good question. So, I felt like a vitamin salesman. People would come in and
Yeah.
they would have a health issue. And whatever it was, if it was tiredness and fatigue or insomnia, they're not sleeping, or their bodies, something about the way they look or feel and they don't like it, then based on their answers to some questions, you could offer them some supplementation. And other than good diet tips, of course, and hydration and things, that was it. So the way I was trained as a nutritionist was really to substitute vitamins and minerals and supplements for drugs. So if they had a health problem,
Okay.
you would, oh, don't take drugs, that's bad, which I agree. But here, take these supplements instead.
Uh-huh.
And I said, okay, I'll try. It was seemed to make sense. But after a short period of time, I realized people really weren't getting better.
Mm-hmm.
They were feeling a little bit better for a while, but then they would quit taking the supplements. Now, either it made them better and they went away and they quit, or they just weren't working and they quit. So either way, they're quitting. So I kept losing clients, my clients, the doctor's patients, to just the sort of trial and error method. Try this and try this. And
Yeah.
people will only try things for so long, and then they give up. And so I decided that was a bad way to do business. I didn't want to be in the nutrition business, not in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I can go on because it's a fascinating thing that I learned.
Yeah.
I was actually working in a chiropractic office, so I was helping the chiropractor with educate the patients about chiropractic, which works at the causal level. They straighten out the spine and get the nerves flowing,
Mm-hmm.
and then whatever happens, happens. There's really this firm commitment to the idea that the body wants to be well, though there's an innate intelligence in every cell
Yeah.
in your body. So I was teaching people about chiropractic and how it helps your body to restore health naturally. When you get the nerves flowing, cells repair,
Yeah.
organs repair, tissues repair. Well, I looked at my nutrition practice and I said, I'm not talking like that. I'm saying, try this, see if it helps. So I just was very fortunate, Katrina, to meet the right people. And I met some good doctors and some lab technicians and some research scientists. And myself, I'm a good researcher and a good writer. So I started really pursuing the underlying causes and conditions instead of just treating the symptoms. And that was the major sort of breakthrough. Now, it was still a lot of work to figure out what those causes were, but at least I decided I was going to throw away all the supplements, not have any more supplements on my shelves, nothing to sell. Just, I'm going to find out what's wrong with you. And that really started my journey to where I'm at now.
Okay, so basically this is what led you to creating FDN, your own program?
Yeah, that's right. And so...
Yeah, so how does it work? Functional diagnostic by nutrition, how does it work?
Yeah, fantastic. So, well, the idea, again, is that if someone has a health complaint, something about the way they look or the way they feel, they don't like it, usually by the time they came in our office, they'd already seen 2 or 3 or 5 practitioners. They even already spent a lot of money. And I thought this was crazy. I didn't want to be just one more guy in a long line of practitioners. I wanted to be the last person that they had to see. And so that's when I started running the laboratory work. We started testing the hormones, the immune system, digestion, detoxification system, like liver function, things like that. So I ran labs and labs and labs on thousands of people, thousands of labs. I did this for 8 years solid. Obviously, I picked up a few things. I made my own observations because, again, I'm a researcher. I wanted to take an objective approach. I had nothing to sell. Plus, this is very, very important. I wasn't a doctor. And so I could only work with the causal level. I could not diagnose or treat any specific condition because that's what the doctors did. Yeah. Oh, you have thyroid, here's your treatment. Oh, you have something, here's your treatment. Yeah. So that's diagnosing and treating. And I said, I'm not a doctor. I don't want to diagnose and treat and babysit some problem, or just manage the symptoms, something like that. Yeah. So I said, I'm going to really find out what's wrong so we can fix what's wrong, and then it should go away, and the person should then be healthy, have vitality. And with our fundamental core understanding that every cell in the body knows what its job is. There's an innate, I now call it vital reserve. So in you, in me, in every cell, every organ, every tissue, there's a metabolic reserve, a strategic reserve, a vital reserve. Now, when you can find out where that's broken down, you can coach it up. And so that's how we lead people to health. And that's pretty much how FDN works. It's running laboratory work, understanding or identifying the areas where the body's broken down. We call them unwanted, underlying conditions and things like that. And then we restore and help the body along, coaching up that vitality, whether it be the thyroid or the adrenal glands or the ovaries or the testes or the liver function or on and on and on. The body's very complicated, but it's not that hard to sort out I've spent 15 years now trying to systematize it. Yeah. And I even teach a course now how other people can practice what I've been practicing for a long time.
Fantastic. So when you run labs and you find what's wrong with the person, what's the next step? Do you prescribe them special or not prescribe, advise special nutritional diet? How does it work?
Yeah, it's a really good thing you asked there because, again, you can run labs and you can identify these underlying conditions like it's their digestion. You're not absorbing nutrition. Or it's your liver is congested. It's not filtering and cleaning up your blood properly, things like that. So we don't want to just treat that one organ. You have to treat everything in the body simultaneously. Yeah. So we use a 5-step. I'll use this hand here. And it's called DRESS. So that's diet and rest and exercise and stress reduction. You've heard of stress before, right? Yeah. And then supplements. So diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplements. That is a behavior program that works on every cell in your body simultaneously. Every cell, every organ, every system, every tissue, every bit of fluid. When you are doing all of the things that's good for those units, those cells, if you will, and then you also identify the things that are contributing to the disease process, to the imbalances. And you coach those down. Like if they have food sensitivities, you have to take those away.
Yeah.
If you have parasites and bacteria and funguses and viruses, there are biofilms. There's a lot of things in the body that have gone wrong that need to be, let's say, removed or chased away. And we say coach it down. So we coach up that vital reserve. We coach up function of the immune system and detoxification and digestion and the hormones. Coach up. With just the lifestyle, diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplements. And then we coach down the things contributing to your unwellness. I actually have a term for it. I call it metabolic chaos. And so in your body, when we're subjected to the environment, all the stuff that's in our food, all the mental, emotional stressors, plus all the physical stress of being having bad posture, weakness, car accidents, sports injuries, things, all these things add up and they take a toll on your body. And so we straighten that out. We get everything lined up and give you things to do. And if you do them, you're going to be better on the other side.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. You can coach them, but if a patient doesn't do the work, you cannot do the work for them. So it's really important, right, to change the lifestyle.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother field in itself, is getting people to do the work. Yeah. And so, it's actually now become pretty routine for us to run some labs. I might have a client do 4 or 5 labs. Now, these would be saliva, urine, stool, blood, perhaps, and we get the testing done and we look at the things we want to look at. And with your intake, understanding your history and your complaints and how long they've been going on and what have you tried so far. So we find out these things, and then we can make those recommendations. We customize the DRESS, DRESS, and it's laid out special diet and, going to bed and getting a good night's sleep, sleep hygiene. Sometimes you have to actually customize things there. The exercises, some people need to exercise more. Some need to exercise less. Yeah. Some need a different type of exercise. Now, stress reduction is huge because anything that isn't diet, rest, exercise, or supplement, it's stress reduction. And this is, again, where we have the food sensitivities, the bad environment. We have toxic people in your life and things. And then stuff that's in food, herbicides, pests, the whole story with all that sort of stuff. So we can design the program, again, pretty routine now. So routine testing, for us now it's routine. We've been doing this so long. For other people, it's brand new. They never heard of this kind of testing before. Doctors are not doing this kind of testing. But for us, it's routine. The system, the DRESS, we can customize. But we can't just hand that to you on a piece of paper and say, good luck. You have to, because at that point, Katrina, it's just information. Yeah. And people already have too much information. What's on the internet, what's in the books you see behind me, we've all read a lot of books and papers and we see on the internet and we watch stuff on TV, whatever. So we already have enough information. So if I just handed you that information, it wouldn't do any good. It's the transformation that needs to, and that's the coaching process, where we start with one step. You can't do it all. If I give you 15 things to do, you get lost, So we say, here's the first thing, and the second thing, and the third. So there's the information, but it's the transformation, which is at least 90, 120 days, 180 days. It takes a long time for people to get well, especially if they've been sick for years, and many have. They've seen 5 or 8 practitioners. They've spent thousands of dollars, and nothing's worked. Yeah. And so it's time to just, stop that cycle of trial and error. Absolutely. And get the real needs met. You have needs that have not been met. Yeah. So, once we figure it out, then you need to transform and do things on a step-by-step basis.
Interesting. So, Reed, since you are so health conscious and passionate about well-being, and at the same time you are so busy with your clients, how do you manage to stay healthy yourself? What's your typical average day?
It's, I try to get a good night's sleep. I mean, starting well rested is probably the key. I'm a bit of a slow starter, and that's okay. Some people jump out of bed. Other people, they like to lay there for 15, 20 minutes. You pray, you think about things.
Yeah.
But anyway, you get up rested. You should be very well rested. And then you have to eat a good breakfast. And there's no skipping breakfast in my world. You know, I usually make it the night before even. I do smoothies, protein, and different things like that. And of course, I go to the gym 3 days a week, minimum, like 3 days a week, no matter what. And sometimes I don't even like it. You know, I'm too busy.
Yeah.
I want to come right here. And this is, I work out of my home. This is my home. I have a pretty good size office here, a big house. And, but I love to come to my computer. But, you know, I make sure I go to the gym. So I have appointments at the gym. I have a personal trainer at the Pilates studio 3 days a week. And I work out very hard for 3 days a week. And then I get some other exercise, riding my bicycle. I also ride motorcycles. I go to the beach and things. And so, you know, you need to stay active. And but it's about following the DRESS. So after breakfast, you know, I do take my supplements. I cycle on and off. I don't pound down handfuls every day for my entire life. You go through cycles. You cycle through the things that are required. And I try new things. I like to try stuff. So living, you know, we all in the health business, you yourself too, you try to walk the talk, right?
Yes, I do.
So I could turn it around on you and ask you, but I know I'm the one being interviewed, so.
Yeah. Well, Reed, I know that so many people would be interested also, and they have those questions with our modern medicine being so advanced, and it's been advanced more and more every single day, and people are just becoming more unhealthy every single day. What's the problem?
I'll tell you what I think is part of the problem. Now, there's a lot of problems. As I said, I was started out in environmental law. So the environment is pretty toxic. I mean, they've measured the air on Mount Everest, which is, you know, 5 miles up.
Yeah.
Even on Mount Everest, there are particles that don't belong there. And they've also measured newborn babies, the blood and the blood in the umbilical cord. Over 200 chemicals were found in the typical blood of a newborn baby, chemicals that don't belong there. So we're in a very toxic world, just in terms of the amount of chemicals in the environment. And very few are tested for safety. You know what the test is? We're the test. We're like the rats in the cage. It's like, well, we're going to use these chemicals, and after 10 or 20 years, we'll see if it kills people. And guess what? It is killing people. And but they're not just in the air; they're in our food, and then even in our environment, like the radiation coming off of televisions and computer screens, and the kind of lighting we have over our heads, and so there's all this sort of bad stuff. And so you have to. Again, stress reduction. You have to kind of minimize that, and you know, at least start there. And it's not an easy thing, you know, for most people who aren't trained in it, who don't make it their life's work. And so, ask me the question again.
Absolutely. Well, I think you gave a great answer why people are getting so much more and more unhealthy every single day. So
yeah, I'll give you another good answer for that too. It's because they aren't looking for the reasons why they're sick. They're making themselves sick, and they don't understand why they're sick. So, because when you go to a physician's today, very few yet are able to tell you what's wrong with you. They only treat the symptoms. So if you go in and you're tired and fatigued and you're gaining weight and you're depressed or sad or something like that, there's a pill for everything.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the other reason why people are still sick is the advancements in medicine are not looking for the underlying causes. They're just looking for ways to treat and manage the symptoms. You know, we have the best, and that's a good need. I mean, if you're dying, don't call me. You go to the emergency room, you get a doctor. He can save your life. They can save your life. And so all these advancements in medicine are along that line of heroic medicine, saving lives. And that's very important. If you have Ebola from being on an airplane with someone and you get Ebola, you don't call your nutritionist. You go right to the emergency. They're very good. They can use very powerful medicine. And so that's a need. That's a true need that should not be, you know, frowned upon. Doctors
Yeah.
do a good job of what they do. But
Yeah.
the reason we're sick is because, you know, they don't help you build health. They just save your life and go, good luck. You know, and we're there when we take over. We'll say, yeah, doctor saved your life. Now come
Mhm.
over. Let us teach you how to be healthy again.
Yeah, and I think everybody has to take personal responsibility for their health and life. They can't rely on a doctor or nutritionist or anybody else. Like yourself, you can coach them and help them. But if a person doesn't take responsibility, no one can help them. So yeah,
Well, you know, sometimes you need some people around you, like
yeah,
support. Like
yeah.
one of the questions I ask my clients is, who's on your support team?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to help you? I also have to make sure that they really want to get health, because sometimes they talk about it. I want to get healthy. I want to get healthy. But when you get right down to it, they're settled in their disease, and it somehow is working for them. It
Mm-hmm.
keeps people around them sort of answering to them, and then they don't have to answer to the world and things like that. So we really explore that, and everyone needs support.
Mm-hmm.
So we can do our part. Matter of fact, we
Yeah,
get paid for it. You know, I'm a health coach for hire. I'm like a health detective, and you can
yeah.
hire me. But you're going to need somebody on your side who's going to get you through maybe
Mm-hmm.
some tough times or something. We always want the husband or the wife to be listening when we're giving our recommendations, because if the if you have to go explain it to them, it's not going to sound the same as if I explain it to them. So
Yeah.
we get everybody together and we make sure we're on the same page. Everybody has the same goal,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're more likely to complete the program.
Absolutely. Reed, do you have your own mentors or role models who influenced you to be so passionate about health and wellness?
Well, I probably could, from my shelf here, grab a book that I've had since I was 19, which is about 42 years ago. So 42 years ago, because I'm 61 now, if I did the math right, um, I read a book called Healing Ourselves
Mm-hmm.
by Noboru Muramoto. Anyway, he's a Japanese guy, and they all natural, like herbs and acupuncture and things.
Mm-hmm.
So the first book I've had for a long, long time. So I always had this thing in the back of my mind to try to take care of myself. But again, I got in different careers, and
Mm-hmm.
but back in the '90s, I met Dr. Leilani Vidal. She's the
Okay.
owner of the Wellness Center and hired me to be a nutritionist in her office. And I ended up very quickly running the office. I was called the health director. I managed everything. I
Mm-hmm.
was also the case manager for all the practitioners. We had acupuncture, we had chiropractic, we had massage, we had nutrition, we had various modalities and things. And I ran the place. But
Mm-hmm.
every single person walking in the door had to see me so I could help them manage what they
Yeah.
really needed. So Dr. Leilani Vidal was really critical. And then shortly after I started working there, a doctor walks in the door. His name was Dr. William Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
He's an osteopath, a DO. Amazing man. He's my mentor to this day. For over 15, 16 years now, he's mentored me on what is medicine and what can I do. And he always helped me
Yeah.
define that line of read and encourage me to keep looking for underlying causes, conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Work with the lifestyle, work with the supplements, work with the reducing stress and all the different things. And so I have this tremendous respect for the needs that physicians meet,
Yeah.
and the needs, and then where can I fit in? So I meet other needs, and they're the things people really need to be healthy. So Dr. William Bailey, Dr. Leilani Vidal, like I said, and also a man named William Woolcott, and he wrote the book called The Metabolic Typing Diet. And
Uh-huh.
it's an amazing book about food and how food affects your health, and how there actually is a right diet for you based on your genetics, based on meeting your genetic requirements.
Okay.
And
Uh-huh.
so I really love that book, and I love Bill Wolcott. He's now a good friend of mine. When I first saw his book, I bought 6 copies, handed them out, and I called up the author and says, I want to know you better. Again, I told you I was a researcher and not shy, so I went after smart people. There's a guy named Dr. Bill Timmons, who owned a laboratory, and I spent countless hours with him, even if I had to buy lunch, because he was here in my same town. I'm in San Diego,
Yeah.
California, and they were here. And so I spent all the time I could with him. He's owned a lab and was a researcher. So he was my lab guy. And there are several others. Dr. David Singer, who's a chiropractor, taught me a lot about business and how to make sure that I was successful in the wellness business too. So Dr. Alan Weinstein, another chiropractor. And, I don't want to leave anyone out, but I don't want to keep going either. So that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I love them all. And I love a lot of other people, especially the people who work for me now, that support our entire organization.
Beautiful.
Again, I have 2,000 students in over 40 countries.
Wow.
I think close to 50 countries,
Amazing.
So my staff has really helped a lot too.
Reed, you just mentioned about labs and how you studied in a laboratory with your mentor. So people can run their labs with other coaches. What makes you different? Why is your lab more advanced? Or how you use it?
Well, the best way I could explain it is that most physicians use labs to diagnose and treat, and they are actually treating the paper, in my opinion. And so they look at a test result and say, oh, this number here is low. And you say, oh, okay, and they go, okay, so here's something to make it go high. Like to get it back into the range on the paper. Or maybe that number they look and it's too high and they say, oh, you need to take something to lower that. For instance, blood pressure and things. Now, I'm not saying these medicines are all bad. I'm just saying that's how they treat people. They're treating the paper.
Yeah.
And so now remember, I can't write a prescription and I don't like selling just supplements to replace the drugs.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the mentality. So a lot of the labs I use, doctors don't really run them. When you're looking at the digestive markers and the immune system markers and the hormone markers, especially through saliva, most physicians aren't doing it, the stool markers and things, and then testing for food sensitivities through blood work, it's really considered to be alternative. And therefore insurance doesn't pay for it. And therefore your doctor's not going to offer you what your insurance doesn't pay for. So don't get me wrong, it's not me versus doctors, or my people, my thinking versus doctors. They fill a need, an important need. Like if you can't breathe, you got to go see him so you can breathe. Once you got your breathing, he says, go see Reed, and then I could teach you how to repair, restore, and maybe that never happens to you again.
Yeah.
That would be the ideal scene. And so I think that's the big difference is they treat the paper, which is not a bad thing for a while. You could feel better for a while. And you might even save your life if it's that kind of a marker. But then your real needs are the behavior program, the diet, the rest, the exercise, the stress reduction, the supplements. I have labs that can tell us, how to customize that for you, where you really need to work on. And it's going to require behavior, not just taking something like this.
Yeah.
And no surgery. We don't want surgery.
That's great news.
Yeah, no taking out parts.
Reed, so do you see clients only in person in San Diego, or you work via Skype?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for asking. Yeah, it's almost all distance coaching now. Now, I worked in the clinic for many years, and I was lecturing around the communities and around San Diego, and people would be able to come into the office. But then I started lecturing farther and farther away. I would drive 2 hours to go give a lecture. And I finally figured to myself, you know what? You don't have to drive to my office. We can work over the phone. I can still have you run the laboratory work. Most of it's self-testing. You collect the saliva, urine, stool at home, and you send it into the lab. And I get the test results. So we could work just like you and I are talking now through Skype, or we could do it on the phone. And you could have you be there with your family, and we have everybody together that way without having to drive to my office. So you save time and you save money, and it just became we call it distance coaching, and it's a great way to work. I can have clients all over the world, and we do.
Wonderful. So how do people get in touch with you if they want to get a consultation?
The best thing to do is to go to functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com. So functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com. I know that's a lot of letters, but type it in there. You're going to come to my site. And then whether you're a practitioner who's looking to learn this technique for your clients, or whether you're a health seeker, if there's something about the way you look or the way you feel that you don't like, that you want to change, and you're willing to do some work, you have to invest. And so there's going to be consultation, laboratory work, and then real work, the effort you put in over 90 days minimum, 120 days, and so on. And your body can turn around. So if you go to functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com, you pick a side, like go to I'm a practitioner or I'm a client, and so that would pretty much be the best way.
Reed, and for practitioners, any holistic practitioner like acupuncturist, chiropractor might be interested in learning your technique. But what if somebody is not a holistic practitioner but is extremely interested and wants to get licensed? Are they qualified?
Yes. You don't have to have a license to do FDN. We call Functional Diagnostic Nutrition FDN. So you don't have to have a license. Remember, I'm not a licensed practitioner. And so I had to find out, how can I help people without a license? And I found out there's actually not only a very effective way, but a legal and not crossing the line into diagnosing or treating specifics and things. So remember my background is law. So I figured it out and came up with a system. Now it helps a lot of people, thousands of people.
Yeah.
And so if you're a health coach, nutritionist, personal trainer, we have some massage therapists and those kind of people who want to help. I can tell you this, that you're only helping a little bit. You're only doing a fraction of what you could do. Diet's required. So if you're a nutritionist, that's important. If you're a personal trainer, exercise is important, working people out. But you're limiting the work you can do with a person. So guess what? If you don't learn to do this, what I can teach you, they're going to go to someone else. They're just or they'll keep trying this, and they're caught in that cycle of trial and error.
Yeah.
And so, we really have a complete system, and I would welcome the non-licensed practitioners, in addition to the chiropractors and acupuncturists.
Perfect. And your training is online, or you have courses where you teach in person?
It's all online, except for that you do have to meet with your course mentors.
Okay.
So there's a lot of FaceTime, as we call it. Like we could work Skype just like this, or on the phone. But there's a lot of mentorship. So the lessons are online, and there's printouts. It's very modern. All the technology is all there to make sure you get all of the information and technology. But in order to really transform yourself and your practice, you need that mentorship. So we actually have you work on yourself to walk the talk. We have you work on some mock-up clients, and then we have you work on some real clients. And if you get the certification from me, you'll have earned it, because it is work. It's still a very undervalued course, but you can go to functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com and find out more about it.
Wonderful. And Reed, so how long will it take for a practitioner to go through this course and really become a master of FDN?
Well, to get through the course is 6 or 8 months. And so it's a self-paced course.
Okay.
Now, we've had people very aggressive who I call them learn freaks. They just love learning, and they get so absorbed in the material that they go through faster. And so I would say 4 months is possible. 6 months is more likely. 8 months. If it starts taking you more than 8 months, like 9 or 10 or a year even, had people do that. But it's because their life is in the way. They're not really applying themselves properly. So that's to get the certification, in which case you'll have worked on yourself, some mock-up clients, and some real clients.
Wonderful.
But sometimes people just choose their mother, So it's better to get real clients who are going to pay you. Now, once you graduate, that's when I take over to help you run your practice. So we're not just saying, again, here's some information, good luck. We're actually trying to transform you into a real FDN practitioner. So we have support groups, one for trainees and about 3 or 4 for graduates. And we have higher levels of case management support and things like that. So to master it, as with anything, you need the experience. You need to get some of your own experience. But I take you right up to that point where you're confident and secure that you could handle just about any health problem. Because remember, you're not going to be their doctor, so it doesn't matter what their medical condition is. You can coach them up on the health side, building health.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. So is there anything else, Reed, you would like to add that I didn't ask you?
Well, it's just a real pleasure to be here and to talk to your audience. And if people out there want to help others, I'm here to make sure that you know that there's a system, that it's not just trial and error, whether you're a health seeker, you're trying different things, trying to get better. Or if you're a practitioner, you're getting this certificate and that certificate. You're always learning, adding a new thing. So I think I've got it all in one big system that would really work for you. Wow. And it's pretty easy to do. At least it's easy to get in touch. It's easy to talk to someone who's been doing this for a while. We'll make it very easy for you to make a decision about whether to take the course or to hire an FDN practitioner. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I could talk to you all day.
That's wonderful. Well, then thank you so much, Reed. We've got so much amazing information.